everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Today we're at my alma mater of Monmouth University, here with Professor John Tiedemann. Professor Tiedemann is the Assistant Dean, the School of Science Director, and the Marine and Environmental Biology and Policy Program. And what he does is he specializes in marine ecology, coastal zone management, environmental science, marine recreational fisheries, and marine environmental education. His current applied research applies studies of striped bass and other recreationally valued species with an emphasis on best practices for the catch and release of angled striped bass. So we're going to talk about today, with the fall run upon us, catch and relief efforts for striped bass, for new surfcasters and returning ones, and what you should do to keep the striped bass population alive and thriving. Okay. All right, so our first question. So based off of the evidence gathered from the last season's runs, how do you think this year's fall run will be?
So last year's fall run was actually tremendous for everyone that got a chance to get up to the beach. We had, what a year on Bunker, where there were blitzes in Monmouth and Ocean County pretty much from October through December. What will happen this year, time will tell. Right now we're in the middle of almost a 2-week period of storms. So typically we would be looking for the bait to start coming out of the estuaries at this time. I did see a lot of mullet towards the beginning of some of the swells that we have, but with this northeast wind, time will tell. Every year is different, so we don't know. Really, lately we've been relying on peanut bunker along the beach. So if the wind is right and the swell conditions are right and the peanuts come in, we could have a year like last year. If they don't, some years the fish go right by us. They kind of come off Long Island and don't spend a lot of time along the New Jersey coast heading to their overwintering grounds. It also depends on weather fronts and temperature. But I'm excited about this year based on last year. I think everyone is. We'll just have to see if the peanuts show up and stay along the beach.
What can you share about the recent year class of stripers' health, and how can it be projected to the future year classes for striped bass?
We do know that the population of the spawning stock is below the threshold. That's why we've gone to this new, more narrow slot limit. The way we measure some indicators is through a young of the year index. What happens is in the Hudson and the Chesapeake, there's a seining survey that the states do, and they look basically at the abundance of young of the year, and based on an arithmetic index, tell us how good the production was for that particular year. It hasn't been great for a couple of years, and I believe this year wasn't that good. So really what happens is if we get a good year class and we let those fish mature, sometimes we're fishing on a few different year classes, and then we get the poor year class coming into the size range of mature fish, and the population will be lower. So I don't think we're at a position right now where we can expect the population to rapidly recover, and that's why conservation efforts are so important.
What are some common practices that surfcasters can do that actually harm the striped bass? Maybe they're not aware that it harms them, but what are some of the things that they can change for the future? There's
things that you shouldn't do in terms of handling the fish, because it can harm the fish, and actually, even though the fish swims rapidly away, has stressed the fish and perhaps results in mortality sometime after the release. And then there's things that you can do to counter those bad practices. For example, you never want to pick the fish up by the gill operculum. You never want your hands to go into the gills. Along those same lines, you really don't want to hold the fish vertically. You want to keep the fish horizontally and support its body. I like to tell people to support it kind of under the head and back by the tail. It's okay to lip the fish if you're rapidly going to release it. And that's the other thing. You definitely don't want this fish to hit dry surfaces. If you're on the jetties, you don't want to drag it up on the rocks. You need to find a spot that you can get down to the fish on the jetties, and A, be safe for yourself, but B, safely release the fish. More importantly for us surfcasters along the beach, we don't want to drag that fish up on the sand and have it covered with sand. That protective slime will come off the fish, and that slime really protects the fish from parasites and disease and things like that. So what do we want to do? We want to keep that fish in the water as much as possible. You need to have your waders on. You can be knee deep in the water, unhook the fish in the water, and let the fish swim away rapidly. If the fish seems stressed or lethargic, then you want to revive the fish. You always want to keep that fish moving forward. Remember, fish respire by water in the mouth and out the gills. So either moving it forward into the surf or in a figure eight where the water is always going in mouth and out the gills. Another simple thing is, especially if you're fishing metal lures, just get rid of those treble hooks and put a single hook on the metal lure. On your plugs and other lures, crush the barb. It really will not affect your catching the fish, but it'll allow you for a quicker release. It'll allow you to unhook the fish in a quicker manner. So really what we really say is handle with care. Air exposure, that's another one. You want to get that fish back in the water. If you do have to remove it from the water as fast as possible. Some research has shown, believe it or not, that after 10 seconds of air exposure, the gill filaments have collapsed and the fish is almost not respiring whatsoever, and stress is imparted on the fish. Think of that in terms of if you fought the fish for a long period of time and it's exercised to exhaustion, and then you remove it from the water. Each one of these steps puts more stress on the fish. So don't go out there with your light trout rod when the fall run is on. Use a good surf rod. Catch the fish, hook the fish, fight it quickly, land it quickly, keep it in the water, and release it as fast as you can. Think of that in terms of if you fought the fish for a long period of time and it's exercised to exhaustion, and then you remove it from the water. Each one of these steps puts more stress on the fish. So don't go out there with your light trout rod when the fall run is on. Use a good surf rod. Catch the fish, hook the fish, fight it quickly, land it quickly, keep it in the water, and release it as fast as you can.